Hi, everybody. It is our July 2015 webinar discussion of remote viewing. My name is Teresa Frisch. I'm your host. You can tell I've been hanging out on the radio a little bit more. I always don't promote me, and I never put my name out there because I figure if you found this, you already know who I am. So we have a great group tonight. We have about 8 people here and several more who have said they're going to show up and coming and going. It's the busy summer season. Lots of folks just getting around to doing sessions. We have travel going on. Computers and printers and scanners seem to be on strike. So I think I have 4 viewers who couldn't scan their stuff in. So we're going to move through a lot of sessions tonight and discuss them as we look at them. I scanned them visually when I downloaded them and have an idea, but there was no in-depth, and a lot of times that happens with these webinars. We discussed them here, so I didn't get a chance to make comments because on the PDFs and send them back, because it would be revealing the target before anybody else has it, because it's never been shown to the public before. I chose this target earlier in the year for a specific reason, and we're going to look at it here in just a moment when I switch to my desktop. But Lyn sent me a whole bunch of potential targets for this year, and I only needed to pick 12. And I chose this one because it's a natural event which could be disastrous, and I wanted to give everybody like a dress rehearsal and exposure to this kind of activity when it was happening. And that way, it's like anything else. We don't show you mayhem targets on purpose. That's not part of our training program. However, if you're allergic to strawberries and we don't know about it, you might not think that a target photo with strawberries in it is a very good time, because your subconscious knows that if you're around strawberries, your throat may swell shut. So we never do that to you purposely, and we don't give you what we term mayhem targets purposely. But this is a natural disaster, and many of you have viewed with the goal that you want to use this ability of CRV to help with projects someday and for humanitarian reasons, whether it's finding missing persons or perhaps an event will occur that you'll want to volunteer for. So you're preparing yourselves for possible uses of CRV in real world. So this was my opportunity to give you another target that would be possibly a search and rescue operations or a predictive operations of how things might be looking at a future timeline and such as that. So with all of that, let me change over to my desktop and bring all of you up again so I can see you in the chat window in a minute. But here you can hopefully see the feedback image. This is target 150729, Mount Sinabung, and it goes bang. As Lyn spends like 5 or 6 hours on every one of these targets. So I'm trying to scroll here. Try not to do anything too fast because I did make a PDF of this. You can use the link. It's up on Lyn's website now in the target pool on crviewer.com. But Mount Sinabung in the Cairo district, Indonesia's North Sumatra province, has been a dormant volcano for nearly 4 centuries. In 2010, it came back to life, spewing pyroclastic ash into the air. That's a new word for me. We're going to have to talk about that word because I think at least one of the viewers will relate. There have been minor and major eruptions since, some resulting in evacuation and several deaths. One major eruption in November 2013 resulted in the state evacuating over 15,000 local inhabitants until the majority of the danger was over. And here we have several pictures of the volcano in the background and the local folk in the fields and on the road with motorcycles, and there's a dog. And every time I scroll, the pictures have to like repopulate. All right. So part of the morning routine is to go out and see how the mountain will affect their plans for the day, or for snapping shots of it with their cell phones to post pictures on social media sites. But on June 17th, 2015, the volcano decided to really make its presence known. This time, things were different, though. This time, instead of just clouds of dust, a pyroclastic flow began pouring down the mountainside. And with it, molten lava. And so it was time to leave by any means possible. And so now you see pictures of the ash dust cloud rising behind the vehicles. And already the motorcycle on the road, you can see it looks like there's fine dust on the road, unless it's actually a dirt road, which is possible. The tiny farming villages quickly emptied out, left to the dust and fate of the volcano. And there's a shot. It appears as though the god Vulcan is giving warning to the young boy. This is my land, boy. You'd better run. Although the volcano's recent spate of activity hasn't caused any injuries yet, 10,000 nearby villagers have already evacuated the region. Whether they will have land to return to or not is still unknown. And here's the feedback map that shows you where it's located, the location, if you're an advanced student and was using P6 tools. And at the bottom, as always, Lyn gives you more links in case your perceptions didn't seem to register on any of the above data or the photos. So you can research this site more, which we do encourage you to do, not because we encourage waffling, but sometimes, I mean, it's a real world location. There are things going on there that we don't know when we set targets up. And so if you can verify what you got in session, I mean, it's great for your subconscious because it knows that it was recognized. It did good work, and you can score your session well. And many of my students are not here for scoring. They understand that it's a tool for them to learn to grow, but they derive a great amount of satisfaction from looking at the session and understanding what they got. So they don't usually hype scoring quite a bit. So let me bring up the participants window so I can see if anybody new arrives. Oh, so far not. Terry's going to be here about 9. I don't know, maybe Sean and Lori will be here. They have little people to put down, and it's probably bedtime. So, all right, and I'll bring up the chat window just in case. Oh, Linda called. Be right back. All right, so I always have to rearrange everything. Let me reduce the size of the feedback and move it over. And then we'll start looking at some sessions. I don't know that any one photo is going to be any better for bringing it up than another. I have these sessions up in no particular order. So Alicia, here is yours. Oh, I forgot, with Nitro Pro, it's all on one, like, big board. Now, great, where'd it go? Good grief. He's talking about Ubuntu. I'm talking about just learning to manipulate multiple Nitro Pro PDFs at once. All right, so Lisa, here's yours target in. Thanks for sending it. It's tough on a rookie, I know, to do this where everybody's here, but really and truly, we're all here to help each other. So looking at your administration section, looks very, very good. You have made sure that you've included no monitor, no observers, no POCAs, POCDs, nausea. okay, you have some POCDs here, and I think I emailed you back. I couldn't tell you the feedback per se or show you the feedback, but your structure, when you watch everybody else's who's been doing sessions for a while, look to see how their POCDs and their set-asides match up exactly. Okay, just watch to see how they do it. And then all this writing right here does not go in your session. You say it out loud, but all you do is you say it out loud, and then you write down whatever the thing is, the POCD that you were talking about, you write it down under your set-aside. And I will try to point that out in somebody else's session who's done it with, who's been practicing longer. So on your coordinates, I know in the manual it says slash, 1507229/031011. You can do it like this. That's what the book says. That's what the manual says. Most of us stack them on top of each other, but you can continue to do them like this. The only thing is, if you have an early ideogram, if you're making that 011 and your ideogram starts early, you're pretty far across the paper already. That's why I really advocate doing 1507229, then dropping down just underneath it and writing 031011, which gives you just a little more room on that paper if your ideogram starts while you're still making those numbers. All right, so good job on your IAB sequence. You felt along it, you felt that you had 2. But the only thing is, when you start into your IAB, that goes on the right side of the page because it's conscious mind activity. So that's why it goes on the right, and your perceptions, which are subconscious mind, go on the left. And then instead of 1 and 2, you should have A1 and do your description, how it felt, then your B1, and then A2, B2. So this is a really great night because we have a lot of sessions for you to look at how other people did it. So with that being said, this is pretty darn good for somebody who's learning over the internet, knew nothing about remote viewing until last month.
It's impressive.
Oh, you're back. Yeah. I mean, let's face it. We talked about the manual online, and then we have to coach her through this part, and she managed to do a session. Okay, fear of failure and all this stuff over here on the right, make sure you drop down and give space. Like fear of failure, I can't tell. It's pretty much directly across from high. It probably came in after the word low, but I can't swear to it. So I need you to give some space in between these things as you move back and forth from the right to the left side and it's left to right. So you're working your various gestalts. That's good.
Yeah, every impression goes lower on the page than the impression before it. Whether it's right side or left side, it always goes lower on the page because an analyst can often tell more about the order in which you get the impressions than they can by just the impressions themselves. So if you keep dropping down the page all the time, it really helps an analyst to help you.
And so here's your P3 sketch. You did not declare an AI, but I'm not worried about this. This is what, your second, maybe third session in the whole world? It's okay. Just keep on practicing and it all starts to shake out. So let me see if I can make this bigger again. So here's your session. I got clouds and sun, so that's representing a lot of that of those outdoor shots. I could be flipping back and forth, but that looks, and I want to point out, that looks like clouds. Looks like clouds are nouns. So remember, we have an awful lot of volcanic activity going on with big clouds of that. So I just wanted to point out, here's a prime example of why that looks like clouds. But there are different kinds of clouds in the sky in those images, if you understand that concept. And then coming down, we've got human. And by the way, you used the word recovered up there. I thought that was pretty interesting, considering we're evacuating villages. And you aren't a practiced remote viewer yet, so we aren't able to explore what was recovered. but you could. I don't want to overwhelm you with information, but you could put that word recovered in parentheses, and then anything you wanted to write down perception-wise, anything that came in, would be showing yourself and whoever is looking at this session that you are looking specifically at what you call recovered, and we could learn more about that. So you're getting humans, dogs, cats, and livestock. And I'm not sure, probably because it's not my job to figure it out. It's my job to look at it and stay objective. We've got all kinds of little wavy stuff over here on the left. I don't know if that's to represent water, but purpose, learning, and end session. So also what you can do are to label these. You could number them. That's where I'm going. You could number what I call these little wavy lines and come down below your sketch and write what you got insofar as, if I'm going to guess that that's water. I could be wrong. But you write the perceptions that go with that. And then on other areas of your sketch, you did a great job. I like it when people try to draw in whatever they think they're seeing, right or wrong, because you don't know if it's right or wrong. It's not your job to decide if it's right or wrong. Your job is to get a perception and write it down. So at least you have, instead of a number here that says 3, and then go down and describe animals, you have what appear to be animals, and then you can still go underneath them with, if you had numbered them, and describe them further. And you can do that all over this sketch. And you probe this sketch exactly like an ideogram, because it is an ideogram. All right, so Miss Felicia, where are you in the crowd? Actually, I've been doing all this instructing, and I don't see her. Great. Well then, kind of like talking to yourself.
It's instruction. It's still good to remind people.
All right. She's actually just got word that they're getting a bigger apartment. So she's packing. She just sent me a picture. So she may not even have her computer set up right now. So, but she can listen. So I'm going to, if anybody has any questions, jump in. I'm going to take hers down and get the next one. Hopefully it'll be somebody that's here. Catherine just got here, so I'm going to let her get settled in for a minute. Is Linda here? She is. Let me get hers up. Hi, Jay.
Hello, Teresa.
Saw your mic come up there.
Yes, just to tell you that I just sent my session.
And I have it.
Email.
I have it. I managed to, I saw that and I quick downloaded it, and it's sitting up here with everybody else's, and I think I'm going to do it next, just because I'm trying to get the folks who are actually here.
Okay.
All right, so this is Linda Renault's, and she is a Dave Morehouse student. So again, when you're keeping in mind that we're looking at a volcano, the target site feels like it is daytime in a warm area of flat land with mountains of rocky hills all around. The environment feels dry, but water is present in a contained way. I also feel a spray. Consistently have the feeling of being up high and looking down, as if I were on a platform or tower with a bird's eye view looking down. There's a feeling of a tall structure and engineering feat that goes deep into the ground. At one point, I feel like I'm in the cockpit of a small plane looking down at the scattered community and pieces of land delineated by fences. This feels like a commercial venture that is considered to be good for the area's economy. There may be the sale of products related to the venture. It feels like there is some manufacturing related to the target that's approved of and provides prestige, local identity. corporation, or group feel impersonal, factory-like. There seems to be underground tunnels, tunnels and rock with wires, pipes, light poles, lights, people. That is a support system for above ground activities, and a photo to show complexity of how it works, the construction of this precision engineering that has to have all the timing right. Spinning, rotating, and structures. Sensors detect heat, humidity with spray, generally dry air, grit, oil smell, motors clanging, people sounds, various sounds blending, and feel wind. There are biologicals. And she's having AOLs of dolphin shows, pumping systems, hydraulics, drilling activities, even fracking, and a native person disapproving, and appeared to be from the Amazon or Ecuador. And she has AIs of feeling air, motion, like acrobatics, gasping for breath, claustrophobic, having to do with something regardless, no choice, butterflies in her stomach, and must perform or get on with the show, but also good feelings reminiscent of what it was like to be in the Civil Air Patrol in Her Majesty's days, or HS days. Now, for those of you who are CRV students, this is Dave Morehouse's CRV methodology and how they record data collection. So it's a little different, has a lot of similarities, but it's a little different, maybe a lot different. So she just summarized in her summary. That was profound. Perceptions, and brought them from this format up into what I just read. And I have his book, by the way. Have not had time to do more than skim a few pages. I don't think I'm ever going to have time to do in-depth reading ever again. I'll have to have cataract surgery by then, I swear. So, again, and I always find it interesting the way they say, meaning the Morehouse students, they break out their sensories, sounds, smells, tastes, textures, but I have absolutely no idea what part of the target they're looking at when they do this.
Yeah, that's one of the problems with this. However, let me show you something like tastes or wherever.
Yeah, go ahead. I just want to look at this sketch. Go ahead.
Okay, like taste or something.
Yeah.
You can then, even with Dave's method, you can then go back, take any one of those tastes that you want to find out more about.
Yeah.
Fall down below your work, put it in parentheses to show that it's a cue, and then you can remote view that taste, where it comes from, what it is, all the details about it. And then when you finish with that, you can put in parentheses site and go back to the overall site if you want. Or you can find something else, the mind of the photographer, okay? Right. You could drop down and you could put photographer in parentheses and do a whole thing on how he's dressed, where he's from, who he is or she, and age and everything else. So each one of the perceptions that you get in Dave's method as well as CRV can lead you to more information. And it's a really neat method for finding out a bunch of stuff.
You're being really generous. Yeah, I agree with you completely. And by the way, intermediate level students, this move command that she's given herself, move to the mind of the photographer and ask, why are you photographing here? By the way, basic students can do this too. However, this is the SI column in your columns in P4. And this is an interview process, it's just the same as if you are standing next to somebody on a street corner in 2015 and you're having a conversation with them. Oh, I see you're photographing this. You know, why are you doing that? And just like you're having an actual conversation with them, then you write down their responses. However, we don't advise, for some of you who are really, really people-oriented, don't hang out with this person in the SI column for more than like 4 perceptions. Talk to them for a second, write down what you think they're saying. Obviously, it's just like anything else. Whatever comes into your head seems nuts. Write it down anyway. Then move away from that person. Go grab another perception and investigate it. And then if you want to move back to the SI column and interview this person some more, you can. Some people, and I won't name a really prominent figure who's an instructor, who's taught CRV for a really long time, who doesn't seem to think, and he's really tall and he wears glasses, plays guitar. He and I have actually had conversations in forums that, you know, this SI column rubbing off on you, so to speak, he doesn't seem to think that, you know, it's possible or even anything that you should concern yourself with. But some of my students have come to me just because they got sucked into a situation and they weren't even remote viewers yet. It was a natural experience. And so this is, and I won't name professions, but other professions have coping mechanisms when you come up against people and their stuff. Now, in this situation, you're coming up against a person at the subconscious level. So you want to make sure you detox after the session. All you do is at the end of your session, you go back up through every perception and say yours or mine, yours or mine, yours or mine. Separate yourself from this target. So again, this is a really good thing to have when you're a little more experienced, to be able to interview somebody at the site and write down what they'll report to you what's going on, what they're doing, their activities, what they're feeling, and sometimes you're going to get this spontaneously, but you also have a tool that lets you do it purposely. So, but don't hang out if you're really, really people-oriented or you already have been sucked into people's situations. Do not hang out in this people SI column, other people at the site for more than 4 perceptions. Move out to a different part of the site, then come back if you want to. And if you are really objective and this doesn't seem to bother you or what have you, you can hang out for maybe 6 to 8, but we don't advocate a lot. And Lynn, I know Linda, go ahead and talk. I thought Lynn was waiting to make a comment. So go ahead, Linda, because you have your mic up.
Oh, yeah, I can say that the guitar player teacher and I have always had, you know, an argument back and forth about this, but he says that nothing about a site bothers him because he's just an observer.
Right.
If you stay in this, first of all, if you access a person at the site and you stay with them too long, you're going to start seeing the site from their biases and their way of thinking, and you're not going to get away, you know, to the truth of the site. Another thing is...
Which means you're not as objective because you're seeing it the way they see it.
Yeah, and, you know, he keeps telling me that nothing bothers him and that it's okay and that Ingo told him it was okay. But I have talked to Ingo, and years after he did a session, he still couldn't talk about it without crying or without, you know, just choking up and all that. And I've got sessions where I can't talk about them, you know, without choking up and all that because I got sucked into them. And you really don't want to do that. You don't want to damage yourself as a viewer. So stay in the session, you know, stay in the SI column, maybe 4 or 5 impressions, then get out, then pop back in for 4 or 5 more, then get out, and keep your separation from the people at the site.
Linda, go ahead. I'm still scrolling through your session. I'm sorry.
The P2,
Uh-huh.
That's where, that was from Courtney Brown, the way that I do the census. He
Uh-huh.
has to write down, well, on his tree course,
Mm-hmm.
that's the way he teaches it. That's not Morehouse.
Okay. Well, you're not the only one that does it that way.
And this phase 4 that you're into, here again, it's very important to keep going down the page, to keep going every impression that you get lower down the page, rather than stacking them up like this, because an analyst can't tell from those columns the order in which you got the impressions. And you know, also the thing, you know, taste, and then you get all the taste and all that. That's fine for the overall site. But then if you, using Courtney's method, if you go and you say, okay, I saw some clouds. Cue yourself with clouds, and then move from the overall site into the to the target of the clouds, and then you can do it again. Okay, the clouds. What are the sounds in the clouds? What are the tastes? What are the smells? What are the, you know, what are the temperatures and all that? And so even using that method, you can still get highly detailed information, and also by cueing with the thing you're focusing on, an analyst or a customer or whatever can tell exactly what you're talking about. Whereas in the stage 2, at that point, you're still looking at the whole site. So even if you do it that way, it's still okay if you learn to cue yourself with different parts of the site and do the same thing with those parts, because that'll give you the detailed information about those parts.
Whenever I see viewers train, and Linda always turns in a phenomenal amount of perceptions. And if you start shaking them out and looking at them, if they're at the site, you can still figure out how good or what level of site contact you think you had, you know, bare or medium or good. It's a little more difficult to figure out when everything is just gathered together and written. If you know that you were looking at the only blue man-made, or the only man-made at the site is a big blue car, and if you're describing that, then you're in luck. Sometimes with Lyn's targets, there's a variety of gestalts and experiences going on, so it's a little harder to score your session if you have like multiple man-mades and so on. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is why we tell people to cue with some particular part of the site.
Yeah.
You know, if you just write about the overall site, there's something blue, there's something red and all that, then you may stand a really good chance of having a high score, but you haven't told anything. And so if you say there's something blue at the site, cue with blue and go find out what it is that's blue. And by doing it that way, you can get high details about the site, and usually that will get you more in touch with the site, so your accuracy goes up and it gets you more information. And the more in touch with the site you are, the better you're going to be.
I always kind of look at that in a throughput way, like in CRV, the way you teach it. You know, you're chasing those details as you go down the page on the front end. Now, Linda's got reams of information here, but she can cue from that and then start backtracking and going out from there. So it's kind of like on the back end. But either way, you're still getting detail. It's just a different approach. And right now,
like up on the bottom of page 1, she's got smoky, choking or something like that. And if she had cued with that, she would have gotten just immediately more on target, and it would have been clearer and all that. And all the way through this, she's got fantastic information in here.
Right. Right now, I'm on what page I'm on page 5 and tipping my head going sideways here. Because the sketch is sideways, in landscape view. Move above the target looking down. And I don't know what the square boxy shapes might be, but we've got concentric circles, target, and fields and rectangles. And so, when you think about the volcanic clouds, rising up, I'm not saying that that's what the concentric circles are. There were several pictures there, and I might have missed something. But to me, that's very intriguing, and surrounded by mountains. So I find that very intriguing. And if I wanted to retask her, I could there is a ton of stuff here that I could use to retask her and move her around for more perceptions and get her squared up if I thought I wanted to learn more about this target.
Okay, and can I add a little thing here? On page 5, she's got what kind of activity?
I'm scrolling.
This down on page 5.
I'm scrolling. My index finger only moves so fast.
Yeah.
All right.
Make it 6. I'm sorry.
I wondered, but that's okay since I just left 5.
Okay.
All right.
What kind of activity takes place at the target site? This is just a little thing that we have found out. When you ask a question, even to yourself, it throws you into the left brain logic, and it requires a logical answer. And so if here you had, you want to show that it's a cue, you had simply put open parentheses, activity, and you can even put a question mark, close parentheses. That doesn't throw you into left brain activity. It keeps your right brain open. And so if you can keep these cues extremely short, down to 1 word or 2 words, it will actually help you stay in right brain activity, and you'll get answers better and faster and more complete. Just a little thing that we found out that is due to the activity of the brain rather than remote viewing itself. But if you keep these cues short, it actually works better.
Linda, do you have anything you'd like to ask?
Well, what I found out, what I found puzzling about this target is the mix of emotions. There was some people were excited, like awe, and there's a page. Let's see, after it's the page before. Well, I think it'd be the last page where I felt that people were afraid of death, and some people were excited, and some people were trying to figure out how to profit from this. That there were, like it did make them important in some way. So I think that, this one where there was fear of death, something deadly and sickening, dirty water, and something harmful. So there was all this stuff, and yet some people, it brought attention to the area, so that maybe there was something they could do to take advantage of this. Maybe scientists studying in the area.
This is presently the most active volcano in the world today, and so there's a lot of interest on volcanologists. Also, the pumice that that is landing all over the place. I mean, you can get it up with huge scoops, like you used to landscape with, and that stuff's valuable actually. Plus, anything that's left, if people get a chance to come back in and settle, this actually turns into good crop ground. And so, yeah, there's a lot of money to be made off of volcanoes, and a lot of intelligence to gain by it, and a lot of scientific knowledge. But there's also a lot of fear and death possibilities. So, yeah, you were right on all these things.
I knew you wouldn't approve of the matrix. I said, they're going to say something about this word. I just wrote things down in each column, and I said, I don't want to use 10 pages.
Yeah,
well,
remote viewers are known as tree killers.
That, send it in. Don't worry about it. It's not what Lyn and what he taught me insofar as structure, but we're helping you to get better session work. We hope that's our goal. So send it, It's not that we're smacking you down or anything like that. And you have a lot of valuable perceptions right there. So if we can help you to become a better viewer, send it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's the thing. Each one of these methods works, like Courtney's method for getting the phase 2s and all that. But if you learn to use it as a tool instead of as a rule that you have to follow, then a lot of this stuff works. And the whole thing about going lower on the page, it wastes a lot of paper, but it makes analysis easier. Does it make the viewing easier? No, it's not for the viewer. It's for training you to work in a team of remote viewers with a project manager and an analyst and all that. And so it's not going to affect your viewing, but it just teaches you, it prepares you to work with a team rather than sitting at home having to do everything yourself. And so these are suggestions. They're not rules at all.
Well, I really appreciate these sessions because I do learn a lot from them.
Well, good, because some days I wonder if it's what I need to be doing these days. Actually, 48 hours ago, I'd had, I think, one session come in, maybe two. And I thought, okay, well, do I really need to be doing this now? Do I need to move on? But after, a lot of people just sent their stuff in. So I thought, okay, we still have folks interested in the learning process through this particular medium. So anyway.
Oh, listen, I'm trying to make the database more friendly so more people will use it. And I know that data is a 4-letter word for everybody. And I realized the other day that I'm the Beatles, nowhere man, making his nowhere plans for nobody, because I don't know how many people will ever use this, but the database is such a valuable tool for developing and using remote viewers. And so I'm preparing it, whether anybody uses it or not. I know that someday they'll see the value of it. I may be long gone by then, but anyway.
Well, thank you for that. All right. Well, I grabbed Jay's session. I'm stuck mint in my mouth, so there's cinnamon thing, so I don't hopefully start to cough. It's a little proactive there. All right, so Jay, this is about his second session ever, I think. And Jay, on your admin section, We're going to go down through this. He literally just sent this as I was queuing up WebEx. Everybody's life is on life overload these days. So luckily he was able to do a session at all just to practice. So Jay, on your admin section over on the right-hand side where you've got NM, make sure you say monitor none, observer none. That addresses the fact that you are not, that there's nobody in the room with you now. You and I know that. You and I know that you're learning over distance, and I know that you don't have a monitor. When you move, if and when you choose to participate in an operational project of some kind, even if it's a climate study project, they're going to, if they know, they being whoever's looking at your work, if they understand that you trained through me and through Lyn, that you know how, if they've done their homework, an admin section is going to tell them if there's anybody in the room with you, and anybody in the room with you could influence you and your session. A good monitor should not. However, those are, at our stage of the game out here, good monitors haven't been developed on a routine basis very much. So they might challenge your work because if you didn't say anything about a monitor or an observer specifically, well, how do we know? How do we know there wasn't anybody in the room with him? So that's why you write monitor, none, observer, none. And then POCA, good, none, and member. Remember that if you do have a POCA, that's a form of an AOL or stray cat. You include it in your set-asides. So he writes down POCDs, and they match with his set-asides. Very good. And he wrote yes to indicate there's something that he doesn't want to make public, but that's fine. This agreement to set aside worrying about whatever yes is between Jay and his subconscious. And as long as those two minds recognize it, that's what counts. So it's great that he did that and wrote that down. So your ideogram and IAB, just going over it really quickly, you've got great hash marks. I'm not too sure why you crossed things out. Oh, you went with 1 and 2 and not 3. Rethinking. Okay. A1 and then B1. And then the only thing is I'm looking at your A1 on this first one, and the ideogram has 2 parts. Good job with describing how the pen moved, the up, right, down, all of that. But then how did the paper feel under your pen? And you wrote circular. Now to me, you're the viewer and you're in charge of your session. And you'll get perceptions at this time too, but we don't want you working the target. But you may get 1 or 2 things that are perceptions here. But I won't say anything except you're supposed to say how the paper felt under your pen, and you say it felt circular. To me, that's a dimensional perception, not a how it felt, like soft or squishy or hard or what have you. But, I accept people write flat, and so that's probably the same category as circular. If it felt flat, you could feel it, feel flat under your pen. So it felt circular under your pen. I knew I was going to catch it on this. Go ahead, Lyn.
Yeah, this is absolutely right. The target may feel circular, but you're not doing the target. In phase 1, you're doing the ideogram. The ideogram goes right up, across, to the left, back down, and so on. And the ideogram feels hard, soft, whatever, and you're going to get how it feels by feeling the paper under the pen. And if you allow yourself to jump and say, oh, and the target feels circular, it's going to actually throw your session off, and you'll have to recover from that. because you're jumping ahead. And so the hard thing for people to understand is that in phase 1, you're describing the ideogram and you are not describing the target. And so it's a very difficult concept to get across to people, but it winds up making for a much better session.
Just one question. For example, yes, I understand that as a newbie, I understand that lots of images appear in my mind while I'm on phase 1. In case they appear, should I draw them or just stick to the protocol and keep with the perception and just leave and wait for that image appear later on phase 3?
Yeah, what you should do is either describe the image or draw the image, but make it as an AOL, because that image will be of the target. It will not be of the ideogram. And so in this case, your AOL is what's called an out-of-structure AOL. It may be right. It may be absolutely 100% right, but it's out of structure. And so if you put AOL and then draw the sketch, or else just describe what you've seen, the very act of putting it over to the side as an AOL will train your subconscious to wait to give it to you at the right time. And what will happen is, as you go down through the session, that thing you saw there in phase 1 will all of a sudden pop in the right place. And it actually teaches your subconscious to get organized. So yeah, if you get it, absolutely draw it, describe it, do whatever, but list it as an AOL, and that way you're training your subconscious mind. Good question.
Thank you.
Which he has actually done here. He has a stray cat of person biting his or her lips in anguish, and oh, I like that, male. After that, his, her, and then male. And then underneath it, he has a stray cat of a white, hairy, cute dog, of white and soft, and he drew it. So that's exactly his.
There was a picture of a herd of sheep, by the way, that I didn't include in the feedback.
Oh, okay. So this is really good work, considering this is probably your second session, I think, maybe your third. So you're doing well with your. Go ahead.
Sure, too.
The second section.
Second session, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, considering you're moving over and doing your IAB sequence, you're getting a lot of stuff right. All right, so took a break and picked up your set aside and came back on a different day. All right, and wrote down that you had to do your admin section again. Okay. And just in case, if we covered this, I think we did, but whenever you take a break like that, you come back at the level of the session that you left. So if you would have been in phase 3, you would not have had to gone and started over and moved through 1 and 2 and the AI and stuff all over again. You can take coordinates and get site contact again, but just saying you don't have to start all over completely if you would have been in a little further along.
Yeah, you don't have to. There are times, you've been away for a week or a month or something like that, and you pick it up again. You may want to, and remember, you're in charge of the session, but you don't have to. You can get to where you're in the habit of just doing the coordinates and dropping right straight back into the place where you were. And you can do that even after years if you train yourself to do it. So, but if you want to do it, you're in charge. But train yourself not to even need it.
All right, and scrolling down 2E's in phase 2, and as we mentioned earlier, always drop down no information on the same level. Okay, so here I'm looking at land 1 and aircraft noise is D. I think you're trying to say a distractor. So it's at your workplace, it's a physical distractor, so it's a PD. And so there should be some space between it and the perception that it followed, that it came after. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, it was physical distractor, that's right.
Okay, so that's a physical distractor. Okay, and
I work at an airport area.
Uh-huh. I like this stray cat of rocket looks like, resembles only. That's good. There's a note along with the stray cat. That's very good. It tells me what your working definition association is that it reminds you of. So again, just leave some space and drop down, and there are a lot of sketches breaking into your P2. So with experience, this will start to get better and start to clear up, because the sketches, we've taught you that if you don't have words to describe what it is you're seeing, sketch it. So if that's what you're doing, that's fine. But as your second session in the whole world, if you're just sketching to sketch, the point of phase 1 and phase 2 are to hustle through those to get to the AI and phase 3, where you are allowed to sketch legally. So if those little sketches, you didn't have words for them, but you wanted to describe, that's the purpose of phase 2 sketches. And okay, we've got all kind of sketches coming in now. Somebody's torso seen from behind like Jesus on a cross. And there are a lot of people at the site. Go ahead.
I'd like to comment on this drawing to the right, looking like a person's torso.
Yeah.
As I saw in the map, feedback map.
Yeah.
I recognize that shape on the contrast between sea and land masses in the feedback map on the lower left corner.
I'm going. Okay, well, a stray cat is a noun, and you sketched your stray cat, so I understand what you're saying, and I will just add, without feeding into what you think it is and a lot of analysis about it, to stay objective, and as you become a more proficient viewer, whether or not it's a biological that you're sketching or an area on a map, comes with practice. And so right now you're looking for comparisons as to what you are seeing, rightly or wrongly. I'm just saying, you have to watch out what you think versus what you can actually say, yes, I was looking at a biological and whatever, but this is a stray cat, so.
Okay.
Okay. But there are a lot of biologicals at this site. A lot of and males with torsos.
Yeah, the shape is absolutely comparable to that map. And what you have to be careful of in a stray cat is that you then don't stray cat your stray cat. If you start deciding, yeah, you're building a castle. And so what you did was exactly right. You set it all over to the side and then went back and started viewing again. That's how you dump it, get rid of it.
So I'm looking at the clock. It's 9:14. Any other comments or questions, Jay? Thanks for sending. Very brave to, to do this in a public setting when you're so new. So thanks because we're here to help you learn, really.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your help.
It's a good session and good formatting too.
I like he's getting fireworks here and grayish and not calm. I didn't make comments on what he was getting. I focused on, stuff like his sketches, but his perceptions, smoke and cloud, and I'm still scrolling up. Land is gray and structure. And there's gray all over the place through this. It's turbulent. Oh, look at that. Energy, motion. There's cool, turbulent, wavy, through the air, movement, nothing static. So for the second session of your whole life, on your own, me not coaching, no monitor, pretty darn good.
Very.
Thank you.
All right, let me minimize this, and of the people, Jenny's here, and of people who have sent stuff in. Oh, we have 4 people here who have actually sent things in, so hang on. Sean and Lori are not here.
Just one little comment. I'm constantly amazed at the...
Wow. Hang on.
I'm constantly amazed by the 100th monkey effect and how things are expanding and going faster now.
Mm-hmm.
When you think of the session that Jay just did,
mm-hmm.
and how many months of training it took us in the military unit to get to the point where he is on his second session, it's just phenomenal. It's amazing.
I'd like to say...
May I add some comments? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to take... There are no other people there. Well, this was actually my second control remote view session. But as I had talked to Teresa earlier, I had lots of, psychic experience before. So I don't know if this helped or not. Mostly in a church or religious environment, situation.
That is good. In cases like that, the controlled remote viewing gives you control over what you already have, and of course that's what it does for everybody. Is just most people don't realize how much they already have.
Yeah, it's a tool that lets you do things on purpose, and instead of just random, even though some of your experiences that were psychic, you might have been trying to get started on purpose, but this way you're making a recording and you're able to work with others who can do the same. So it's one of the things that really sets it apart and makes it a crown jewel insofar as psychic ability experience, because it's a tool that helps you.
There's no doubt this is much better now.
Well, good. I'm glad you're happy. All right.
I'm really having a ball.
Well, good. In the fact that when you're doing it when you can, because you told me what's going on with your life. So, all right. Moving along to Jenny, I would like to say that Jenny did a bang-up session, which I looked at last night. However, I can't show it to you because we'll be mixing targets. Because Teresa thought that she had something going on the 29th-ish, and I moved at the beginning of the year. I set this, there was a conference that I was trying for, but for the moment, I've had to back my conferences off till fall. Whew. So anyway, I set up this month's target on the 22nd, and then changed it to the 29th, which is our normal. But anyway, Jen did the target for the 29th, or 22nd, which I can't show you because it's mixing and all of that. And if you all, you're all looking for practice, et cetera, Jay, I'm going to mute your mic, just so as it gets feedback into the recording. Anyway, the July 22nd, you're not supposed to say, oh, this is a good one, but let's face it, Lyn puts targets up here that are interesting, that are good training targets. So I would just like to say that July 22nd of 2015 is one of his usual really great targets, and I would like to tell Jen right here that she did a great job viewing it. She's just crossed over from basic to intermediate structure and is learning that. And we did that on purpose, mostly me, since I'm in control of the manuals. But she was getting a ton of information, and she's a classic reason why I started phasing, the 2 basic intermediate into the program at my discretion, because I could see that she was kind of hobbled in basic. And I really felt that if we could get her through the learning curve of intermediate, she would be able to express her perceptions and record them and report them better. So she's just now working into that for the last month or so. So congratulations, Jen. You really did a good job on that target.
Fantastic. Good.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Jenny.
I would have to look. Okay, I would have to look at the other target to tell how I did on it. As far as my perceptions are concerned, but I do find the phase 4 to really help move things along, and gives me a better expression of being able to express things. It tends to what I'm finding is that I tend to get slammed with impressions on T4. I can't write fast enough to keep up with everything, so I'm tending to mix. I tend to mix up the columns. It's hard to keep things at a pace that I can handle sometimes.
Ingo invented the too much break, and TMB is what he abbreviated it as. When your subconscious starts getting excited about what you're doing, it goes at a whole lot faster pace than you do on a conscious level, and it will start dumping stuff on you just unmercifully. And what you have to do is you develop this little ritual of saying, too much break, you stop, put your pen down, and give yourself a little talk and say, hey, I can't keep up. Slow down and give me the stuff. Then you pick your pen up, start over again, and that physical act. Now, don't just drop the pen, pick it up and all that. Drop the pen, give yourself a little talk and say, this is too fast, too much, too quick. And then pick up the pen, start over again. And what happens is, through repetition, your subconscious will actually slow down and start giving you at the rate you can keep up with. Being overwhelmed in a session is not pleasant at all. Believe me, I know. And when you start getting overwhelmed in a session, just take a too much break and calm down, pick it up again and start again. And it will actually help you in the long run.
I would like to make a statement as to someone who knows their viewers. And let's just say that Jen Tyson is in overdrive most of her life. That's the way she functions. And one of her statements to me early on, once we got through the manual and I got her to the point where she could start working targets on her own, Lyn, you need to fasten your seatbelt. Please don't fall out of the chair the day after your birthday. but she literally said to me, well, Lyn's target pool, I need more targets. I'm going to burn through these, in no time flat. And I'm like,
You don't know how good that makes me feel.
I'm like, whoa, now wait a minute. I said, you're not supposed to do more than, at this stage of the game, every other day at the most, and you have real life. You need to incorporate remote viewing into one of your daily life activities, whether it's once a week or a couple of times a week. There's more to life than controlled remote viewing. And the fact that when you get into intermediate and you learn to take breaks over several days on purpose, you need to practice that. And you need to practice working sessions and getting details and chasing details, which will mean longer sessions over several days and stuff. And this is all part of your training. And she's like, oh, well, okay, well then. But I'm like, she was like going to be through all your targets in about 2 months.
Yeah, one of the hard things for us to learn in the military unit was the unspoken, well, the spoken rule there, that there is no target that's worth losing a viewer for, because you've got to keep your viewers, and you'll have more and more sessions. And when the lives of even battalions of men were at stake, the rule still applied. There is no target worth losing a viewer for. And it was hard to come to terms with that. But you lose a viewer, and all of a sudden, how many more battalions of men will lose their lives because there was no warning for them? And so, you can't make this something that's going to burn you out. Okay. I know for the type A personality, you want to get to it and all that. But be very careful that you don't burn yourself out. You should be having fun with this. And, and as far as the comment about my targets, thank you. I often wonder if anybody's even looking at those things. I've had people tell me they haven't done a session in months and months. And I say, well, we have over 400 targets up there. Oh, I'm not going to do those until I get better. How? By not doing sessions in months and months? Come on. And so I'm really glad that you're liking the targets and that you're doing them. Thank you very much. It makes me feel like I'm not the nowhere man sitting in his nowhere plan, making plans for nobody. It really helps me. Thank you.
At this point, I try to make up some little phase 1 targets, thinking that it would be standardized for me. And if I had all my students working a little cluster of targets, it would make the beginning easier on my end. I've learned that they do better if it's like pulling a target from your stack at your house. And you'd say, okay, you're going to pick your target, and you'd have the big manila envelope. And I'd say, pick a number between 1 and 15. And I would say 8. And then you would say from the top or from the bottom. And I would say from the bottom. And you would count 8 up from the bottom. Pull it out. I would have chosen my own target. So just to let you know, Lyn, I have abandoned all my other things. Like I said, I tried them. And my rookie students were getting perceptions and getting sight contact. But I have found that they do better if we just randomly douse your sight, they choose their targets the very first time out, and they nail them. And, it has made a world of difference, I think, because and now I've had some students participate in other people's call for viewers for projects and stuff, and they send me their sessions, and I'm like, where did you get this? What is this? And so I've had little chats with them saying, look, you can go do this if you want to, but I can't help you. I can't look at the feedback. I don't know where this target came from. You're not supplying me with a well-researched target. I don't know anything about the topology to the extent that I can't help you to the extent that I could if you used Lyn's targets. So that's what I push. Your target pool, that's it. Just saying.
Good, good. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Just the targets, I try to make them entertaining and try to make them worth viewing. And I know that many of the target sites, you'll bring up a target and the feedback shows a picture of a vase or a car mirror or something like that. What a yawn fest. And so I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Am I supposed to be scoring every one of my sessions? Because I've been scoring quite a few of them, but I didn't score the last one, and obviously this one here I can't because I didn't have any feedback. But am I supposed to be doing a score sheet for every one of them?
Yes, that's your learning tool. I don't push it hard and fast. Teaching online over distance, you're trying to grasp too much as it is and assimilate it all mentally, you know, instead of sitting down at a table. But yes, the scoring of sessions is part of your tool that shows you, okay, I'm strong in colors, but I never get dimensionals, or I get bare dimensionals, or I never get textures, or I never get tastes, or I get a lot of this and none of that, because then you can start cueing yourself to purposely develop that part of you, and you will start getting those perceptions naturally. So yes, that is a huge tool that helps you in your growth of how things go. It's not just something that was devised so that you can pat yourself on the back or not and keep on going.
Okay.
Lyn, I know you want to say something.
Well, actually, yeah. If you keep a record of these and score your sessions, when you do get ready to say, okay, I'm gonna try to find the police help a missing child, or I'm gonna, you know, some business owner is going to pay me a good amount of money to propose a plan, you know, to choose the plan that's best for his company and all that. When you do decide to go along that way, you will have a track record that will let that database, or that will let that project manager or somebody else know how good you are in different things. And let's say some customer comes to you and they want to know the color of the getaway car, and you know that you're not good at colors, then you can tell them, no, I'm not going to do that because I would fail at it. You know, what other type of information do you want? Because I'll succeed at that. And also your trainer. If your trainer, your teacher, knows what you're good and what you get bad at, they can then customize your training. And so those records are extremely valuable for everybody. And if they don't exist, then they have no value. So I know it's a drag, it's a real drudge to score every session you do and all that, but there really is hidden value in it.
So, thanks, Jen. There were a lot of good learning points in your conversation. Did you have something else?
Oh no, that's fine. I'm good.
Okay, thanks. All right. I have Bob's session up, and Bob is an advanced student, so I'm not sure to what extent he worked this, but we're about to find out. I will admit there was a little bit of a learning curve here with Bob this time, and I think that he learned a valuable lesson. Let me just preface looking at your session with Bob. You have down here under your POCAs, previous sessions. Those are not psychic what the POC area is intended for flashes of the target, or like premonitions of what the target might be. Previous sessions are distractors that you might associate. So previous sessions, when you set that aside, they're not POCAs, they're POCDs. And there's a difference. You know, your previous sessions are things that you've already worked and that might remind you of this target. So that's more conscious mind stuff. And a true preview of coming attraction is not an association with your previous sessions. A preview of coming attraction or advanced visual is an indication that it's a stray cat and it can hijack your session. You need to include it in your set-asides, which is what you did, because you had visual flashes of a meteor shower. So that was your POCA, and with your POCDs, you said none, but actually that's where previous session goes. So your set-asides are correct in previous sessions and visual flashes of a meteor shower, which is pretty darn cool with visual flashes of a meteor shower when you think about a volcano erupting. So he took his front loading and to describe the events at a location and make a timeline of the events and describe each, which I know he did as I was scrolling down through this, which I'm going to move through because he has his IABs down and all of that. I should pause, though, for everybody who's new. Bob does excellent structure work. Here he has his stacked coordinates and then his ideogram, and then comes over to the right-hand side with his IAB sequence, I being ideogram, A, and then B. I won't elaborate. We need to keep moving. AOL of meteor and fireworks. So see that already his POCA is still popping back through. But his perceptions are what are the most interesting in how when you compare and objectively look at what does fireworks look like with the actual target, and then he's getting rock-like, ash smell, and taste, which I'm not going to read every one of those just because he always writes very good summaries. So we're just going to go right to the summary, which is your going through your session and choosing what information you think is subconscious perception and what information is conscious mind imagination, which you do not include. And he thinks his AI, he thinks it's neat to watch, and he feels okay. And again, I'm tipping my head here to look at his, I don't like to roam around too much in this environment with my computer. His sketch, he has, it looks like sun, so it looks like it's outdoors, and hopefully he's written that in here, but he has little stars and lines drawing down from them. They're biologicals, and the lower part is hilly, and there's land, and he indicates the natural in between. All right, so then he goes into his phase 4 matrix. And Bob, just to summaries, you know, I never stress it because we're in here and we're talking about summaries should really go on they should come first when you send in your session to your trainer, because you may have trainers after me, which I want to encourage to everybody. Your summary goes on top of your session, it's the very first page. So here he's chosen the event on his timeline in 2013. It's between 2000 and 2013, about halfway. So yeah, what do we have? 10 there. When did this occur, Lyn? This eruption.
The first one was in 2010, and the latest one I think was late last year. The big one. 2000. But 2010 was where the first eruption happened after 400 years of it being quiet.
400 years, eh? And he got it within 3 years. 27. He got it.
They got it actually within probably a year or two, yeah.
Wow. Pretty darn good. Then he broke it down into, he has year, and then he broke it down into month, and then into months, a series of events. So see, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the actual date is in the feedback of the first event. I'm not sure about the second one.
Yeah. All right, so here is a P6 matrix, if you guys can appreciate that. He has numbers on here, and he's touching the paper. The whole paper is now, you know, an ideogram per se. It's able to, a gestalt. So he's able, it like an ideogram. So he's able to touch it and get perceptions. Still going for his summary here to see what he kept. All right, the target is a series of events at a location. Make a timeline of the events and describe each. Also, find the location on the dowsing map. So he took a break and came for a few minutes to rest after his session, and resumed session, came back and did his summary. So he's still viewing in his summary, and he may get more information that is accurate. Oh, and here's a note off to the right that I need to catch up with. Let's see. Oh, Linda, you have great targets, Lynn. I do at least one a week. 2 thoughts today. In order to in an older part of town, I drew a P9. It was very old, lone farming times. If I'd known what it was, I would have AOL'd it as farm community. Second, seems I interpreted the volcano as a man-made structure, great engineering feat that goes very deep and rises very high, and I find this amusing.
Yeah, I noticed on that as we went through the session, I didn't see where she got the technological and man-made, but the descriptors of what she's calling man-made, and even that sketch, is accurate to the volcano.
Yes, it is. That's why a lot of, Leisha, who's not here, I just saw an email right as I was queuing up the WebEx. You know, Lori Williams and I were just on the radio yesterday afternoon, and she addressed, because I asked her a question, very, very, very beginning viewers, and even, well, Dan Chevalier, he's passed. You guys would have loved him. He would say, Teresa, this is not worth it. He had a Connecticut accent. I didn't get anything. I'm ashamed to show it to you. Da da da. He was a seasoned viewer, and he still thought he got crap. So you guys always think, if you think you did really good, it's probably really bad. If you think that, oh, this is crap, odds are it's probably really good. But a lot of times you don't recognize, especially as rookies, that what you're describing is actually the target. Just because you didn't get what is actually in that picture, you described what's going on there using sensory information. Yeah, Lynn.
Yeah, one of the criticisms of the database is that it's self-scored, and the assumption is that everybody's going to give themselves a glowing report. What we found is that you take almost any viewer who puts their stuff in the database, you hand those sessions to a third party, a skilled, trained judge, and the score will be higher because people tend to just beat themselves to death over this scoring, and and call themselves wrong when actually they're describing the target perfectly.
Yeah. So speaking of which, Bob's summary. The natural number 1 is rock-like in structure with an ash smell and taste. Does it get any better than that? It is extremely hot with a burning fire-like temp. It is getting better than that. Colors associated with it are yellow and orange with glowing luminance. And remember, whoever's listening to this later webinar, Bob did not have any idea what this target was. It was not live on Lyn's website when he did this session and sent it in. There is no way he could have cheated. So it is moving very fast in a downward direction. There are concepts of high pressure and atmosphere related with it. It is disintegrating as it falls. Wow. Its size is large at first and again getting smaller as it burns. It's very visually exciting to witness. There's non-threatening concept related to it. That speaks quite a bit for your objectivity and the fact that you're probably not standing anywhere close to that volcano. Natural 2 is spirally in motion across and downward in direction. There is a fire-like burning association with it. It is extremely hot in temp and disintegrating as it moves. It is ore-like and rock-like in structure. Smells associated with it are burning, ash-like, natural, very pungent, acid-like, ore-like, and melting. It is irregular in shape and hard. There are concepts of geological and atmospheric related with it. And by the way, remember he had that advanced visual that he is setting aside through this whole session to do accurate work. He's not getting hijacked by that stray cat. There are concepts of geological and atmospheric related with it. It is falling from high upward, leaving a trail-like visual behind it. Good grief. There are smells of smoky and gaseous related with it. It is very bright in luminance with a yellowish orange fire-like color.
That trail-like?
Uh-huh.
If you look on Google Maps,
yeah,
and zero in on that area, you can see the trail of ash still going across the landscape.
Well, I think, as if what I think matters, as a possibility, not to waffle, but, you know, as the lava flows down the mountain, it leaves a trail, and it gets smaller sometimes, but also the smoke, as it trails up and the ash, you know, it leaves a trail. So you have all kinds of trails here that can come into the discussion.
Yeah, and prevailing winds will make the ground gray for decades and decades in the direction of the prevailing winds.
Yeah, wow. The land is hilly at its perimeter and desert-like in structure. It's open and airy in dimension. Its distinguishing features are its rocky, natural, and rugged areas. It is plateau-like and scenic. The area at the target site is flat in shape. There is a lot of natural-colored greens and browns, light-colored rocky areas, and it is associated in a southwesterly region. Biologicals are human in composition, both male and female in structure. They are witnessing, Jen, by the way, this is the way a summary should roll. We're having summary discussions in email this week. There are concepts of spectating and collecting related with them. So he is objectively stating what's going on at the site, not so much I felt, stuff such as that. And he's not storytelling. It's pretty cut and dried. Sample-like, rock-like, and ore-like tangibles are collected by the bios. They are souvenir-like in purpose. There are concepts of re-entry and debris-like tangibles associated with them. I know he seems to be a little heavy on the dash likes. He could also say reminds me of, but what he's doing is not getting nailed to the noun.
Right. And one of the things you have to remember is that even in your session, when you get it's brick-like, you can ask yourself, how is it like a brick? Oh, in color, in shape, in size, and weight, and whatever, in strength or whatever. But when you get an impression that it is brick-like or rock-like, ore-like, and all that, if you include that like in there, what you're telling yourself is that it has some kind of characteristic of what you mentioned. But if he would say, you know, if you say it is a brick, well, it may not be a brick, but it's brick-like. And so you keep away from your nouns, but if you make that noun into an adjective, it is brickish, it is bricky, it is brick-like. then you keep yourself from falling into the trap of getting caught by a noun. And when you get caught by a noun, you get caught by the AOL, you start castle building, and you go off target. So this is beautiful right here.
Both events involve natural 1, natural 2, occur in the year approximately 2007, month of approximately April, and days approximately 11th and 12th. Both events involve both naturals, occur one following shortly after the other time-wise. So there are two eruptions according to the feedback. Is that correct, Lynn? I'm sorry, I don't have it memorized. And
yeah, I think there have been minor things, you know, minor little rumbles and eruptions and all that between those two. But the one in 2010, and the one in 2013, November 2013 here. Those are the two really biggies that, you know, cleared all the people out of the countryside and all that.
Yeah. Okay, here's an example of other things that I found at the site where warm, hot temperatures at the land site, a breezy climate is associated with it as well. And then just for learning purposes, I asked people to list their AOLs and see if there's something in them that they can associate later that reminds them of the target in some way. Just as if you work for other trainers, train with other trainers, your AOLs do not go in your summary, and you will get dinged for it. But as a learning curve, that's why I have us do it for us online and emailing stuff back and forth. And borderline stray cats and cats at the site, shooting star, comet, debris, and souvenirs. So, I mean, the kudos are coming in over in the comment section. Bob, this is absolutely incredible, great work. And then Linda's asking, how is a stray cat different from an AOL, which we'll get to that in just a second. But Bob learned an extremely valuable lesson, I hope. At least he tells me in email that he did, because I actually sent him the target feedback yesterday or the day before, because I was able to carve out of his email statements what he told me, that he was frustrated with this, and he was just, he thought he was buying into that stray cat and so on and so forth. And it was a crap session, and he threw it out and started over. I hit the brakes, and I clarified with him. I said, now wait a minute. When you say you started over, did you go back to P1 and get site contact because for some reason you felt you needed to do that? Is that what your working definition of starting over is? Or did you literally throw that session in the trash can and start over? And that's what he did. He in-session analyzed. And I don't very often come up out of my chair like a bulldog, like a friend of mine used to say about football. Well, no, about other things too. I was out of my chair and I was on that email like white on rice. I'm like, dude, this is maybe the absolute very best session you have ever done. And you've done some great sessions for a student viewer. You nailed this target. Luckily, he got the same thing both times. When he went back in, he was getting the same thing. I said, you work with that. You nailed this target. I want you to see what you did, and don't ever, ever scratch anything out so that you can't see it. Don't ever obliterate anything. And don't ever decide that your work is crap to the extent that you throw it out, because you may be getting exactly what is needed, which in this case, this is a beautiful session. I am so proud of him. And I'm like, don't ever throw your session out again and start over.
Throwing your session in the trash is the ultimate insult to your subconscious mind. It tells your subconscious mind, I don't trust you. I don't believe anything you're telling me. I don't think you're any good at all. And don't ever do that to yourself. It is the ultimate insult you can make to your subconscious mind.
Congratulations, Bob. This is such a good session, and I'm not patting you on the back just to be your trainer and tell you good job and all that. This is really an excellent session. Do you have any comments? Lynn's going to take care of patting you on the back. I'd send you, 5 pounds of M&Ms. I should. So you sent me tea for relaxation and stress. I should send you a boatload of M&Ms for this session alone. So anyway, I am keying up your mic. What would you like to say? And I hope you have something to say.
Thank you for the training and all the rest of it. I guess this shows how dedicated you are, Lyn and T, to what you do. And happy birthday, Lyn. And if I may give you this session for a birthday present, happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. And I guess I take the good ones with the bad ones, and this one just happens to be pretty good. So,
even if a session is really, really bad, there's an amazing amount you can learn from it. And so when you throw your session in the trash, you're not only saying, I don't trust you, but you're saying, and I don't believe I ever will, because there's nothing you can learn. And put a cover on your trash can, or take the trash can that's right near where you do your sessions and throw it in the trash.
And you talk about Lyn and I being dedicated. Who's the dedicated viewer that has spent hours and hours and hours working on learning this? You.
Well, I find it fun. I think it's a lot of fun. I think that's what Lyn was saying earlier, that when you approach it that way, you really can't go wrong. If it's something you really like to do and you find it fun, then it's going to work.
That's right.
Great job.
Thank you.
Lyn, there's a question. Linda's asking how Stray Cat is different from an AOL. Could you take that while I bring up the next session, please?
Sure. AOL stands for Analytic Overlay. So an AOL is gained from logical analysis. So you say, you get impressions of red, round, rubbery, and so you say, oh, therefore it must be a ball, because you have logically put those things together. And that's an AOL, and it's done in your conscious mind. And, you're saying it's perception 1, perception 2, perception 3, therefore it must be, and that's done with your conscious mind, and that's an analytic overlay. A stray cat stands for the subconscious transfer of recollections, anxieties, and yearnings, in other words, memories, fears, and desires, to consciously acceptable thought. And so what happens with a stray cat is that you're going along and all of a sudden a memory of yours comes up, or you hit a perception, and all of a sudden that raises fear in your mind, and so you bounce off of it or something, or it raises yearning in your mind, what you really desire. And so all of a sudden you take off in that direction, and it's formed in your subconscious mind from your memories, fears, and desires. And it happens before it ever gets to your conscious mind. So AOLs, you can train yourself not to get logical in the session and not to make assumptions. With stray cats, they pop into your mind totally unbidden, and all you can do is record them, okay? You never know exactly what they mean. And so you've got a target of somebody walking in the woods, okay? And all of a sudden, you get this memory that pops into your mind of you skiing downhill just as fast as you can go and being out of control, okay? And where in the world did that come from? You don't know what it means in relation to the target you're doing, but make a recording of it. I mean, write it down, stray cat, because later when you see your feedback, you'll say, oh, that's what it meant. It meant danger, okay? It meant out of control situation. And so, maybe the target is a factory of some kind, and you get something like that, and you say, oh, it's telling me that there is danger in this place. Well, I had no idea that's what it meant, but that's how it showed me. And so that's the difference between a stray cat and analytic thinking, okay? And after a while, you learn how to tell the difference between the two. The main thing is, go over to the right side, write it down, make a recording of it, because sooner or later, you'll find out what it means. And did that explain it for you?
Said it helps a lot. Thank you. All right, Terry's session is up, and anyway, thanks everybody for all the questions that you asked, okay? Because it helps everybody learn when you do ask, so thank you. Terry's been away for a while, and so she told me this session's a mess structure-wise, but at least she did a session, so we're both really happy. And she's like getting back into the swing of things, and so, Terry, just to remind you, over in your admin section, you've got NM for no monitor. Make sure you say monitor none, observer none, because when you work in more advanced work and or something, a real project that could become critically important. So make sure you address that there is nobody with you. Monitor none, observer none. And she has a POCA that looks like, yeah, it is real, REEL. So, and she properly set that aside with her, she says she's not sure she remembers how to exactly do that, but she's going to brush up on her structure. So good for including your POCA in your set-asides. All right, for somebody who's getting back into it, I noticed that you don't have your viewer number up here in 011, which is just meaning that you can say that this is your first time working this target, your first target today, which someday may be important if you're doing projects for people. Just saying. All right, I'm going to skim down through her IAB and everything. And she moved into P2. Make sure you write P2 out there, please, and thank you. Forgotten the format, so just going to go with it. All right, I'll shush then. She always did have early sketches. Her session is full of P2 sketches, always was. So she's got a very layered, active, rise and fall a bit. There's peaks, high spikes, sharp layered feel still to this, and overlapping peaks at different heights, and she's indicated that and explained it. Stray cat of, it's like graph still. Anyway, moving right along. We've got thickness and platform, and she's tried to draw the platformed so we can see what she's seeing or thinking or trying to describe. All right, P3, here we go. I didn't see an AI, but like she said, she's getting back into things. She does have some dimensionals in there. Which remember, Terry, look for dimensionals, and your AI will be shortly following thereafter, more than likely. Just looking to see who's still here. All right, so she has her P3 sketch. It's numbered all the way through. And she's going to come down. One was bios and looking down and male and suited possibly with question marks. And stray cat of a statue and angled at the base. Anyway, we're going to get to her summary. And if you'll, pages must be out of order because now I have well, maybe she worked number 5 next. Page 9, okay. Jam together, push together. Coppery but grayish, greenish, dull shining, vertical somehow connected to it, attached. She's describing a man-made, I think, at the moment. Goes like an opening where verticals are. And it's lipped, okay. Possibly watery, filling, risiness, stray cat of water. Radioed and radiophonic. Note, now I'm just making up words. That'll happen. I like that. She's making up words, Lynn.
Somebody has to make up every word that ever happened.
Yep. A sound wave coming out of a grid or something. All right. So then her session, everybody's having printer scanner trouble. Some people resorted to taking pictures because I told them to. I said, try this. That one's coming up. So here's her summary. The target has elements of man-made, movement, water, bios, and sound. Man-made is a platform-like, which is heavy, metallic, extremely solid, almost rock-like, glistening, slimy wet with a sharp-like edge to the front side. It's narrower than the long side in the foreground. The front edge has a type of lip, and under the lip it seems like there's a tunnel-like opening into some area under the platform. Much darker, feels something may go into the area, like the drop towards the back and end, which goes even deeper. She's always good at structures. I'm not sure there's a structure there that is in the feedback photo, but we'll see. In the background, behind the platformed area, it seems like something rises up higher, like a raised area beyond the platform. Area in front of the tunnel-shaped opening that seems higher or raised, and then there may be steeper drop from the raised area. Movement 1, and you see she got gestalts from 2 types of movement. She labeled them 1 and 2, and that reflects in her summary. So now she is reporting what she was seeing at movement 1. And it seems like something flows from the tunneled area above in waves that are flowing, layered, rhythmic, swift, gentle, melodic, reverberating, rising and falling, peaking and returning, measured blueness. Movement number 2, above the platformed area in the background, it feels like something rises up in a melodic or orchestrated manner. It rises and falls repeatedly. It reminds me of a water fountain show. Bios, it seems like the 2 bios are planted or standing upon the platformed area at the front edge. There's an attached quality to the base or feet of those 2 bios, like they're somehow attached or planted or hooked onto the platform. Also a feeling of mechanics to this base, which reminds me of a ride, and the sound is like ratcheting. I'm not even sure what that means. Thank you for telling me that. It reminds me of a roller coaster sound when it rises slowly up a track, but in this case it seems like it goes over and then under and possibly into a tunneled area right under it. It seems like the bios go forward and over the edge. There's a synchronicity to the 2 bios, like they're standing together, moving in a commonly shared formation. Maleness to these 2, seems there's something about the arms or extensions of these two bios. The arms may be attached or linked to one another, seem to have intention on whatever is below them or the upcoming drop. Element of water or waves of some kind at the site it may rise in sprays in the background, may also be coming from the tunneled area. It seems light colored. Overall, this target has the feel of some type of show or performance. There's a seriousness or solemnity to it. Lyn, was there any mining going on here that you recall, or just trying to look at this flat?
I think it's all excuse me. I think it's all just agricultural community. However, there are two pictures on there where there are two people standing there looking up at the volcano, and you know, checking out what the volcano is doing that morning. And I think it's somewhere above.
Okay.
Above where you are, but the volcano does make a cracking sound as it goes, and a volcano does have rhythmic flow, fall back, flow, fall back, and all that. So these are good descriptors.
Yes, I did just zoom in on this photo because I want to see what this yellow truck is looking like. Except maybe I zoomed a little too much.
There you go.
Yeah, well, it's way over. I'm just checking out the truck.
Oh, yeah.
To see what kind of a truck it might be.
I don't know.
I don't know either. You know, I'm going for mining. You never know. So anyway,
I think this whole area is agricultural.
Okay, well, I am scrolling back up. So, Ms. Terry, do you have any comments? Questions? Linda's asking if it's known whether the scientists are tunneling down to alleviate pressure or anything. Well, Terry, yeah, I can't seem to help you with your platform. Wow, that is a big mountain. By the way, are mountains technically, are volcanoes mountains? Or are they separate? Are volcanoes volcanoes, or are volcanoes a mountain? Terry, I don't know if I have a mic, but overall it's just a messy session, but fun to get back into it.
Yeah, I think that most mountains are either by erosion or subduction, pushed up from underneath. But a volcano is another way to make a mountain. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a mountain.
Okay. I just wanted to check me. Well, not too sure what platform and underneath and what have you were looking at, but there's a lot of opportunity in all of that location for there to be such a thing. And I'm glad you got back into it. Very good.
Yeah, one of the things is that some viewers will often pick a specific spot to view. And that spot is not always the the angle of viewing from the picture. Many times it'll be from the other side or a different direction or something, but they're still looking at the target. And this is a good thing because it tells you that they're viewing the actual target and not their feedback. And so many times when you find something like this that you know is probably at the target, and yet it's not in the feedback, many times that is a really good indicator that they're a good viewer because they're viewing the target.
Right.
And not their feedback.
Terry, yes, you do have a mic, and I teed it up if you'd like to comment or anything.
You know, I'm not sure I really have a comment. It just looks messy. But yeah, the only thing that feels anything like even close to me is just the background with like something was spraying up where it's in the background. But other than that, I have no idea where I'm coming from with the platform. But that's okay. It was really interesting that when I started, I realized I had absolutely I forgot everything. I just went into a panic. But it seemed like it was already going, so I just said, okay, I'm just going to go with it.
Hey, that's good viewing. That's the way to do it. If your conscious mind decides to take over and say, okay, I'm going to figure out what this is, just end the session. You're not going to have a good time. But if you just turn it over to your subconscious and take dictation and act like an interviewer interviewing a witness, you're going to do good.
Yeah, it really was fun to get back to it. I missed it.
And let's face it, you didn't view a tower.
No, I didn't view a tower.
Yeah, I like to say, you know, you didn't view elephants swinging through trees. So.
In-house joke, because Terry has an affinity for towers. If there's a tower anywhere in the vicinity, she used to head for it like a homing pigeon. The first session where she didn't view a tower, and there was a tower in the vicinity, I retasked her and I sent her over to it. So anyway. Good job.
And happy birthday, Lynn and Bob. That was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. That session was amazing.
May I add something to Terry's platform?
Mm-hmm.
I also saw exactly the same thing in my session.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she's not alone in that.
And Linda thought that maybe she saw something similar as far as tunneling and stuff too.
Yeah, and it's very likely there. I have found so many times when a remote viewer will find stuff that may not be found by even people at the site for another year or two.
There you go. All right. Well, 10:17. And we have Ms. Catherine Ferner. Catherine's a very busy lady as well, and she keeps trying to fit training into her life, and so someday maybe we'll get that done. She's she's trying, which I have to love. So another person whose scanner just crashed and burned. And so I said, she's telling me she's having all this trouble and nothing's working. I said, if nothing else, take a picture. It doesn't work for official training, but this is an emergency. And so you take a picture. So here's what we have. Target contains elements of space, air, man-made, land, biological, and mineral. Excellent, by the way. Biological contains elements of human, multiple, white, male, tension. You've gotten this all on your own. Nice work. Curious, investigative, excitement, colorful movement, intent, watching, multiple, moving and still, close and distant. Clothing of pants, shirt with white and also with colors of red, blue, tan, and white. There are all elements of cheering, shouting, anxiety, fear, horror, grief, pain, and joy. I can imagine that. The man-made contains element of, I have to sit kind of weird for my bifocals, so it looks like I'm like a stork or something here. The man-made contains elements of movement, silver, coppery, rectangular, cylindrical, wholly, metallic, hard, shiny, small and large pieces, smooth, square, and round parts, and complexity. Also contains elements of technicality and frequencies. It further has elements of red hot, exploding, and fiery. Nice. Space air contains elements of vastness, large, outdoors, atmospheric, thin, and thick areas. Land contains elements of grassy green, dusty red, hot relief, as well as hard, rocky, pebbly tan, light brown, dusty, larger rocks, and cliffs. Mineral contains elements of sharp, pointy, deep underground, layered, small pieces above ground, valuable, sought after, reddish color, tan and dark brown. I know this is a mess, but I have already learned a lot, and there's an unidentified ideogram that shows up fairly frequently and would be good if I could identify. Thanks for your help. I look forward to the online part. So here's her actual session. And Catherine, maybe you should refresh me. Maybe I have you confused with somebody, because this is some pretty perfect work here. Maybe you're a different Catherine that I thought that I was talking to. And if you've taught yourself all this, I don't think you need me. Your home, again, try and put in there, monitor. You have self, but monitor none, observer none, because it becomes more important on down the line. You had a POCA of space and air, and you're set aside of all of that. And you have to have had training. I mean, you are nailing the IAB sequence. And I think you have P in either a period or one. It's P2. Great structure. And I know you sent me more pages today, and I don't know if they were in addition to these pages that I already have, but I didn't have time to get them added to this document that I had made into a PDF. So that, ma'am, is an excellent session.
The only structure mistake I see on this whole thing, I mean, this is great structure. The only is that Q's are not put in parentheses, so you can't tell whether it's a new perception or a Q. I'm taking it like bio right there is a Q, and then telling about the bios. But if it's not set aside by, the parentheses, then it's very hard to tell whether that's an impression. And like these,
I think she's working her gestalts, and she didn't put her gestalts in parentheses, but she will obviously be able to tell us that.
Okay, yeah, but they're underlined, so that does set them apart. So that's good.
Catherine, please refresh me as to, are you the Catherine who just moved from the West Coast and wants to study, or are you another Catherine?
I don't think Catherine is attending.
Nope, she left.
I see her name over there.
Nope, she was here, and she had if it's Catherine, I thought she's on the West Coast, so I kind of put her toward the back, thinking that she was still earlier in her day, versus Jay, who's later, the East Coast, and Bob. So, well, daggone, this was a great session. I wish she was here. I will make sure to email her such. All right, now we are winding down. I know it is 10:23, and if you folks want to go, that's up to you, but we still have Sean and Lori's sessions. They're not here. They are a husband and wife team. Sorry, husband. I was thinking man. I'm like, no, there's a real word for that. Husband and wife team. So let's grab Lori's. They have done manual review. They've done Dave Morehouse training on their own and are just starting to send in sessions. So they came for training because they knew that they were getting site contact and they wanted to do better. So this is Lori. Oh, looks like we have page 2 first. A little scanning, another scanner thing. All right, so I'll address their structure later on. Let's try to just see what she got. I can email them back their sessions. AI feels like I'm in a tunnel. Here we go. Tunnel or cave. It's cool and dark, curious where it leads. There's a building. I don't know what this cave is, but it certainly has everybody's attention, or this tunnel.
I think the underground feel was just, it's an underground feel, and somebody says, so it must be a cave or it must be a tunnel. And so it would be considered an AOL if that's what it is.
Without feedback, we don't know. If they had, underground stuff going on there, whatever. Okay, site is a location with elements of water, land, biological, man-made, unknown gestalts. Water is blue and choppy, but otherwise something. It splashes, is refreshing. The water extends out and is expansive. Clean. Thank you, Jay. Good grief. And Spanish is his native language. He's just translating for me. It splashes and is refreshing. The water extends out and is expansive, tastes and smells salty. The water is also underground within a natural, stretches out natural. Within a structure, the area smells dark and musty, feels cool, dark and enclosed. Land is dry and flat, feels loose, is open and extends out, not without interruption by any other feature or something. Then unknown is purple, red, orange, and white. It has hemispherical shape and bright, feels warm. It has hum or buzz sound. The bottom is solid, but the top is not solid. Good differentiation on a relationship. Man-made is tall and modern looking. It is uninhabited, far away from the water and land feature. Feels connected somehow to the unknown object. There are glass rectangles on 3 sides, but not only a couple at the top and on the 4th side. Overall location is isolated. It feels warm and bright. Purpose of the location is discovery and practice. It's also relaxing and invigorating. All right, so that is Lori's session. Now let me get Sean's. And he had scanner trouble. All right, so
it's amazing how many remote viewers have problems with electronic equipment.
Yeah. All right, so here's his summary. Take a fast look at his session, see if there's any. Fear of failure and anxious. He gets a little anxious. He wants to do a good job. Horses running. He's got all kinds of outdoor stuff. Cowboys. Chisel or hammer. Fireplace with a fire. He's having an AOL. Leather smell, feels old. Concept. He's also a concept guy. That's what he does. So he wrote concepts. Sow what you reap, art of war, lessons learned, teachable moments, interpersonal related, the nature of competition and cooperation, team building, AI. I feel like a large perspective of cyclical generational lesson learning is being played out before me. By the way, I need to address the fact that he is a basic student, but because he's crossing over from Morehouse training, he's getting intermediate stuff. So he wants to work with concept as a Gestalt, and I'm letting him run with it like that because he will get to play with that more in intermediate. But, it's what he does. It's his passion, and so I'm just kind of riding that. So we'll work on fine-tuning.
That's good. If a person has a natural talent, absolutely encourage it.
That's what I told him. I wrote him back. I gave him the script about how that's not. I didn't go so far as to say you'll develop ideograms and explain that because we've done that drill. So I was waiting to see what he said, and he's more like pretty much he's like standing up to the student, standing up to the teacher, going, "I think I really need to make a case for myself and how I want to develop this and da 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 da." And he'd already had the drill on you'll develop more Gestalt and what intermediate is going to give to him as far as structure and playing with it. And I just wrote back, go, do good. So, and let him kind of run. So it's not like he's doing anything that he won't be doing later on, in a few months anyway. All right, so those are his sketches, which I wanted to get a look at here. A lot of farming-like, locational-like sketches. All right, and then where did his, oh, it's a Word document. There we go. All right, so his summary is target with, and he wrote more of an outline summary instead of the narrative. So the target contains land, which is gritty, flat, extensive, laid out, voluminous, contains pale blue, organic, built upon, well used, brown, clean, comfortable, but cool, crisp temperature, fresh air, nature, pastime, condensation, and dew. And he had AOLs of the horses and cowboys and cylinders. Contains a man-made, which is hard, smooth, handheld, worn, purposeful, tool-like. Associated with a bang sound, works with hands, associated with craftsmanship, associated with pride, associated with apprenticeship, and associated with being time-consuming. And if you can wrap your head around this, as he went through this, if he would have moved over a certain part of the man-made that had something that was listed here that was specific to that part of the man-made. It's almost like the cylindrical. I wonder if he's describing a pistol or something, but that's just me. So don't worry about that. But if he had said, say this man-made, he starts out hard, smooth, hand-worn, purposeful, tool-like, and then cylindrical, and then under cylindrical, moved it off to the right, and then listed the perceptions that went with the cylindrical part of the man-made. So if you can do outline summaries, that is the best of the best, because it tells you exactly which part of the man-made or the whatever Gestalt you're looking at, as you moved, like say I'm my office here. I'm looking at my computer right now. But if I look at all of a sudden, there's a camera, at the top, the little, lens is up here at the top. So I'm looking at the big, and then I went to further say that it has a small square, then I start indenting off to the right underneath the big part of the man-made, because it is a smaller part of the man-made that I want to describe, and that's what I'm focusing on right now. And so, anyway, outline summaries are a wonderful thing.
Don't scroll yet.
I'm not scrolling.
Okay. Just as an example.
Yeah.
It's a very nitpicky example. But, okay, works with hands. associated with craftsmanship, associated with pride. He's got these indented under the man-made, okay? And so the man-made is worked with hands, it's associated with craftsmanship and pride and all that. But, for instance, what if he wanted to say that the craftsmanship is associated with his pride? Then he would indent associated with pride under craftsmanship, and it would say to the reader that although the man-made is associated with the craftsmanship is associated with pride. And so by indenting like that, you get finer and finer and finer detail. And then, okay, associated with apprenticeship, that's the man-made, so you bring it back out under man-made. And so that's an example of what you were just saying. Nitpicky example, but hopefully it will help.
Right, and that's what you used to teach, you know, in basic coming up. But when people would get into post, you know, the really, really, really advanced courses and be guild material as a viewer, I mean, this is the stuff that you had to have down to qualify. Being able to report like this.
Oh, yeah, because you have to be clear, crystal clear about what you mean. And also by simply the indenting properly when you write your summary like this, it gives so much detail and it prevents the reader from making mistakes in what you mean.
Yeah. Here he has the unknown, swooshing, downward pulling, rushing. There's a vortex, concentrated energy, focused to a point, building sensation, repetitious, fluid, or build, release, and cyclical. And he has an AOL of a funnel. And he has some structure, perceptions, natural materials, hand-built, spiritual connection, practice, stone, wood, hay, straw, residence, worked in a squared, angular, leather smell, feels old, fireplace with a fire. And the energy motion springs up, launched, lateral motion as well, excitement, competitive skill, game-like but serious, and fast motion, then contact with something, people gathered around to observe, cheering or commotion, emotional investment. And there's water, which is babbling, flowing, everybody's getting this, natural setting, source of vitality, AOL, river or stream. I was kind of wondering if the flowing water might not be a lava flow, but I mean, just none of the perceptions were leaning that way. So, you know,
yeah, if you really zoom in on Google Earth,
yeah,
you see, I think there's a lake nearby here and a bunch of rivers or streams flowing into it or out of it or something. I'm not sure.
Right. All right. The target felt like it was in a more distant past time setting, not modern. It felt rustic, and the materials around felt natural. I felt like competition had a lot to do with the target, as well as skill, apprenticeship, and pride. It felt cultural and generational, like this event or activity is not just spread out over a short period of time, but a very long period of time, sort of traditional. It was game-like but serious.
Yeah, and the thing is, you've got a community here, a rural community, farmlands, small towns, small villages, and all that. And if a viewer zooms in on the people and hits them one by one, there is no way you could say about this that it's wrong. Now, he didn't describe businessmen in their suits and, you know, on the 90th floor of a building and things like that. And so if he had, you could say they were wrong. But the thing is, here you've got a remote viewer who is seeing things that are probably there, but we don't have feedback on it. And that's why for the scoring, we have three different things, and that is right according to the feedback, wrong according to the feedback, or I can't feed back, so I don't know. And many people, if they don't find it in the feedback, they'll count it wrong. That's the wrong thing to do. If you don't find it in the feedback, then you can't feed back.
Well, it is 10:39 Eastern Standard Time, and we are over, but we've made our way through all the sessions, and we had some really, really excellent sessions all the way around tonight, which I am very, very grateful for, because without them, you know, all it is just manual review, you know. So with that, thanks everybody for coming. Thanks for Lyn for being here for your commentary and all your excellent teaching. And we'll be here again in another month with another target. In the meantime, I don't know if you might find it valuable. I am doing a little radio show gig on Monday evenings, 7 p.m. I branch out a little bit sometimes, time zone. I just had Lori Williams on. She presented in Spanish, and then she's going to the Netherlands in October, so we just were on and we're talking about that, even though she didn't speak, you know, she was speaking in English. We talked a lot of CRV talk. So if you can handle listening to us online, there's more opportunities there. Excellent sessions on, and if you go to Facebook, it's the Controlled Remote Radio Show. Excellent interviews with Angela Thompson-Smith in her work with finding the missing DJ, which has been publicized, and John Stewart and Maggie Schetz, husband and wife, who helped find a lost poodle, and they've done other operational work as well. And I have a gentleman who's going to be speaking. I just got an email back that we're going to be speaking in German. Not me. He's presenting. I have yet to set this up, so I don't know what the material looks like for the, you know, hopefully it's in German. But anyway, that's coming up next Monday. So I tried this little radio thing out on a temporary basis and try to do a little bit for IRVA and promo it, and I've had some success. I've had to pay for ads, but I think the IRVA live stream ad, I was able to get it out to 250,000 people and 2,000 likes on it. So, you know, I am accomplishing a goal that I wanted to get the information about remote viewing into a more global audience. And so this radio show is letting me do it. I don't have too many more to go. It was only for 6 months, and I think we're pushing month 4. And I didn't sign a contract or anything, but that's the reason I'm doing it, and I don't intend to keep it up. But there's a lot of information about remote viewing on those broadcasts. If you aren't a member of Facebook and you want to learn how to get to them, just email me. So, and I'm also, another good thing for us as a community, and I'm going to try and do my very best, which I had to at Mensa, the electronics. I found out as I was on the podium, the speaker ahead of me, like 2 speakers ahead, had trouble with the electronics, and it was a laptop, and the whatever we call the attachment, you're not able to screw it in, so it kept falling out. So my big screen would go blank. So here I am, burned the midnight oil, setting up this PowerPoint to go to Louisville, and I couldn't present it because everything we tried. So I stood on the podium and winged my topic of CRV for an hour. It was a great audience. The room was full. They had great questions, but that's a testament to hanging out with Lyn for over 10 years now, because I winged it for an hour and they were able to interact with me. So I'm going to have an exhibit at Grand Rapids in October with a bunch of neuroscientist types, which is good because it gets us into yet another audience and every little bit of 100th monkey chipping away. So I did that, and I presented at the American Holistic Nursing Conference, and people who looked at the posters were given continuing education credit, which is huge. If you are accepted into scientific communities like that and they give you educational credit for what you're teaching, that's huge. And so I am making some strides, and I'll be in Columbus again in September for a huge psychic fair where I got my start, first target I ever viewed, and then sought training and ended up with Lyn and Lori. So anyway, I'm doing that in September. And so lots of irons in the fire. And for all of you, if you email me and you don't hear back for a couple of days, it's because I am now I have to work some overtime to pay for all these conferences. So if I seem a little bit like, what is she doing? She's not as chatty as she usually is. That's what all's going on. And I need to do my part to move us forward in a way that I know my time and talent can provide when I left Lori Williams' front doorstep when I took my basic class, because I knew that this was human science. Nursing is all about human science, and every day I've gotten up since then and just, okay, how far can I get today? Where's the edge of the envelope? Have I hit the edge of the envelope? I have, so I need to build a new envelope. And I would pivot, and every day I would just try and get a little further. So, now I'm finally reaching my goals insofar that I'm being allowed to speak at these conferences and stuff that relate to medicine. So while I'm helping all of you move ahead, I'm also trying to help our entire field and our entire species move ahead. So unfortunately, I have to work a little overtime right now. So bear with me, and when you send in sessions, I will get back with you, and I apologize if I send the occasional email going, how am I behind by 2 or 3? Where are we? So anyway, that's me both patting myself on the back, bringing you up to speed, and whining a little, all at the same time. So with that, thanks everybody, and we will see you again in a month here, and in the meantime, through emails. And happy birthday, Lyn.
Thank you, and thank you for doing all of this, Teresa.
You're welcome. Seems like all I have to say is when I can't do anything except sit in a rocking chair, all I know is if I would not have tried, I would have been pretty miserable. So it may seem like it's very hard and there doesn't seem to be much joy a lot of days, and I'm getting up, and pivoting. I will be a lot less happy when I look back on my days if I wouldn't have done this. So to me, that's what's important. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you, whether it be an email or here, I'm around. So see you in a month, and thanks for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
If I can get this thing to stop recording. I'm clicking on things. There we go. Click on it a little harder.